We are the New York Knicks. I'm back in the New York groove. Well, it's the Knicks. New York. We are the New York Knicks. New York. For this new season we're about to enter, the Knicks taking no shorts just like winter. New York, New York.
New York be about the Knicks, huh?
But the best thing about New York City is
K-N-I-C-K-S.
Everybody say go New York, go New York, go!
Go New York, go New York, go!
Hey everybody, it is the New York Knicks podcast, episode 666, Number of the Beast. I am Jay. How you doing, Mark?
Yeah, you ever have you have a water bottle you use, like a refillable water bottle?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have one. I always drink out of a Gatorade one. And how often do you clean your water bottle?
Probably like once a week, but my wife will notice after like 2 days if I'm using the same one and grab it and wash it.
So I have no idea when I last cleaned this. I just took the cap off and realized, holy crap, this is a little disgusting what I'm drinking from. So I am drinking straight cancer right now. Hopefully this works out for me. Anyway, sign of the beast, 666. 2025 has not been the Knicks season so far, a year so far. Doesn't it feel like we're doing like 2025 is almost like retro 2015 Knicks?
I mean,
We're suddenly bad.
it's like the general mood of Knicks fans is not positive, but the Knicks have the sixth best record in the NBA.
Yes, the Knicks had played a really good 2024. They had a 9-game winning streak.
Fifth best record, actually. So it's
Okay.
We're exactly halfway through the season. 26 wins. They're on pace for 52. It doesn't feel like it, but 52 is that's a good amount.
That would be
wins.
wonderful.
Yeah.
They do have a harder schedule. I think the issues are, first off, teams, no matter how good they are, unless they're an all-time great team, they usually have some struggles. They usually win a bunch of games, but lose 3 or 4 in a row also. Usually happens for every good team. It's a long season, 82 games. You're going to hit some rough patches where your shots aren't going down and just things aren't quite working out for you. We're in that sludge moment right now. We're about halfway. The Knicks are halfway through the season right now. It's been not a pretty week since the last show.
Hasn't been great, but we do have a Mitch update.
Okay, and since the last show, the Knicks got their ass kicked by the Thunder. Then I guess they beat the crap out of the Bucks. So I guess it's not a terrible week. And then embarrassingly have now lost twice to the Pistons at MSG. Mm-hmm. What is the Mitch update? So I don't know the Mitch update. Can I guess the Mitch update?
Sure.
They said Mitch has started started speed walking, but not yet jogging. And he posted something cryptic on Instagram, and we're not sure if he's going to war in the Ukraine.
So the Knicks front office is very confident that he'll be back early next month.
Okay. That sounds amazing. That sounds absolutely amazing.
Yep.
So probably All-Star break?
Like right before he'll play like one game and then there'll be the All-Star break and he'll have a week off.
Okay, he'll probably play after the All-Star break. Come on.
Yeah.
Okay. But either way, if he's back, it sounds like he will most likely be back at the latest right after the All-Star break.
That's the rumor so far. Unless he has a setback, that's the general consensus. So
why would you even say that out loud, Jay?
If just being realistic, if the Knicks do decide to trade him, a 1-for-1 with Jonas does work on paper. Just saying.
Yeah, I would rather
you made Sorry, go
you'd rather Mitch. I thought you made a good point about the show on last week on the show about this, because we're not trying to win games in January or win games in February. We're trying to win games in April and May, of course, or May and June. We're also trying to make the best possible team. Mm-hmm. Valanciunas healthy versus a healthy Mitch. Healthy Mitch is clearly better. The question is Mitch going to be healthy? Our ceiling is just higher with Mitch. You can't just trade him for someone that's not going to be as good a player. unless you really think Mitch just is, there's no chance he's healthy for the playoffs.
Right. Yeah, Jonas is a better offensive player, but Mitch is just a game changer on defense, and that's what the Knicks need right now. They need that. They need to have teams to be scared to go in the paint, and right now they're not.
Right. If you add Jonas Valanciunas, like they're a little bit better, yeah, especially because he can play and Mitch can't play right now. Cleveland looks pretty good. I'm very confident against Cleveland if I have Mitch. If I have Valanciunas, I'm a little less confident.
Yeah. It's not like Jonas is a defensive powerhouse.
No, he's not at all.
He can score, he can rebound, but I don't think more scoring is what the Knicks really need. So I would, assuming that Mitch is coming back healthy, I would rather just hold the line until he comes back. And
unless there's a trade that looks so good. Yeah. If you really want to win this season, you're better off seeing if Mitch can get healthy, seeing what he can do, and then if he's not healthy for the playoffs or it just doesn't work out, try to figure things out in the offseason. But right now, it doesn't seem like a great move. Like there aren't great options right now.
And Mitch was just unlucky. Like Embiid, grabbed his ankle. If that doesn't happen, I don't even think we're in this position. I don't think we're having this conversation. So
Embiid is the jackass, but even that move, it wasn't. It was obviously trying to foul him, but it wasn't. Embiid didn't think he was going to injure him. No one thought that would be he's out for most of next season type injury.
No, but Embiid was completely reckless that entire series. Like he could have injured 3 different Knicks.
I also don't know why he didn't get suspended for at least a game in that series. Like you do a play that's really reckless that injures another player, you should at least miss 1 game.
What about 5 reckless plays that almost injured 3 different starters?
Let's not revisit.
I know.
So Knicks Muse, this was a Bleacher Report proposed the trade. I saw it on when Knicks Muse posted it. But basically, there was the Mitch Robinson trade. It was the Knicks received Torrey Craig, Javon Carter, Chris Duarte, and a 2021 second-round pick via Sacramento.
For who?
For Mitch.
What does that do?
I have no idea. It's just Bleacher Report needs content.
It's just okay, this works in the trade machine, so we'll just print that.
Javon Carter, Duarte, the second-round pick, are completely meaningless. Torrey Craig is decent. I'd add him to the team, but you'd much rather have a healthy Mitch or an 80% Mitch getting Torrey Craig. That would make a huge... It doesn't make any sense.
That just seems like we found something that works in the trade machine and Knicks get it.
My understanding of Bleacher Report is we need content all the time, and sometimes it's better to post stupid content because it gets more clicks.
Yeah.
But
I unfortunately, I think a lot of outlets are just doing that. Like, let's just make something dumb and annoying so people spread it around, and we don't care if it's negative clicks. We're getting the clicks, so...
Right. You feel like you submit something. I mean, Bleacher Report, I guess there's lots of people write for it, and they post lots of stuff. And they probably make a lot of money and blah, blah, blah. But I imagine, you go to your editor at Bleacher Report, you're like, I've got this trade, Mitch for whatever it is. And the guy's like, I needed to dumb it down a little bit. What about this one? Well, that's too absurd. It has to be between absurd and a good idea.
Right.
That's our market here.
I mean, Rolling Stone does that with music. They'll have a list of, the best rock singers, and they'll have Kurt Cobain as number 5, and I'm like, he's not even a good singer, and you have him as the greatest of all time.
Right, the greatest singer of all time, and you're like, oh, Paul McCartney's number 2 and number 1 is Pink.
Right.
Okay, thank you, Rolling Stone.
Yeah, that definitely wasn't for page clicks.
Yeah. I just made that one up, but they do stuff just you want to get make some noise. Okay. And people are losing their minds also online about the minutes still. Jay made a point. Someone posted that the Knicks their starting 5 are in 5 of the 10 most minutes played in the NBA this season. And Jay's response was, well, that's good. The Knicks are one of the most healthy teams in the league. And someone responded, how do you know that? He's like, well, they're available to play the most minutes, so seems like that's working.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to be the minutes police, go by minutes per game, not total minutes played, because somebody could play 45 minutes a game, but they're hurt and they play 6 games, and you're like, whoa,
guys are a little banged up, but guys are a little banged up on every team. Whether you play 36 minutes a game or 42 minutes a game, guys are going to be banged up. It's a long season. Guys are going to miss a couple games. Most people are not Iron Men like Mikal Bridges. I mean, there's maybe a certain logic to the mix. Like, if Bridges averaged 37 minutes instead of 39 minutes a game, that make a huge difference most of the time.
I don't think it would make a huge difference, but it would calm people down, I guess.
But if you want to kind of side with the minutes police a little bit, let's say your thumb is basically broken. Should you play the rest of the game against the Pistons?
Right. That's where I was like, get him out of there. At first, I thought, okay, it's he taped it up, we're okay, and then Towns like receives a pass, and he's like putting his hand behind his back, and I'm like, okay, let's not do this.
Towns called to be taken off the floor so his thumb could be wrapped, which is that point I'd say it's game 41 of the season. How about we wrap you and you sit down the rest of the night? But they put him back out there. The ball gets knocked out of his hands, and when the player strips him, they hit his thumb. Towns looked like he was shot with a gun. He was in so much pain and just stayed out on the floor. Towns is really tough, but Tibbs, sometimes I'm like, this is idiotic. The guy is injured. You need him. You do not need him having a broken thumb and missing or like a sprained thumb and missing part of the season.
Right, exactly. So we have no thumb update.
No thumb update. Towns may not have maybe the thumb was removed. I don't know.
Towns was asked about the thumb, and he just keeps saying it is what it is. And
they said asked Towns about his thumb. His response was, "I have 9 other fingers."
Great.
I made that up, but
you don't need a thumb to play basketball.
I'm so good I can do it with 9 fingers. It's fine.
So I mean he went for a dunk and his finger jammed against the backboard. Just one of those fluke, random things that happens.
I can't tell you how often I go for a dunk and I jam my finger against the backboard.
I know.
It's just all the time. Somebody hit my head against the rim. Sometimes they just jump over the basket.
It's what happens when you have a 40-inch vertical. It's a tough life.
Yeah. So do you want to anything you want to mention from the games this week? So the Thunder game, the Knicks did not show up and they got crushed.
Yeah, they just got trounced. I mean, that was a blowout from the first quarter. That was just not a fun game.
No, Knicks. I mean, on a positive note, the Knicks minutes. Tibbs really limited the minutes that night because they got their ass kicked.
He did.
We saw Huck Porty get 13 minutes. Shamet played. The bench really got a lot of minutes that night. So, is the minutes police probably are like, good job, Tibbs. Anything you want to add from that game? I mean, the Knicks
there's nothing to say about that game. They got outplayed from the opening tip, and we went in thinking, oh, the last game was close. So maybe this will be the revenge game. Got home court, and it was just a no-show. It happens. Like, every team gets blown out once in a while. The Cavs got blown out last
game. Do you
game.
know who they said, like, taught Steph Curry how to shoot threes? I don't know if you saw this. Isaiah Joe, who's 8 for 11. What the hell? How does Isaiah Joe, who came into the game as like a middling three-point shooter, shoot lights out against them?
So I was thinking, if you took like the second best 3-point shooter on an opposing team that's playing the Knicks and just bet the over on them, could you be a billionaire by the end of the season?
Make it the fourth best 3-point shooter, and I'm in.
Okay, I'm gonna try this for the rest of the season, and I'm gonna see what happens.
By the end of the season, Jay will buy TikTok.
Right, exactly.
Thunder looks pretty good. They're clearly on another level than the Knicks right now. Hopefully the Knicks will get there. Again, it's not game 41. It's how good you are on day one of the playoffs. So we're halfway there. We gotta get better.
Then
the opposite happened against the Bucks. The Bucks, who are still a very good team, they're just not quite a title team yet anymore. Knicks beat the crap out of them. What do you want to say about that game, Jay?
I mean, it was nice to have a win like that after get the taste of the Thunder game out of our mouths. So it was good to see that. Plus, just not a huge fan of the Bucks, so I like seeing the Knicks beat teams like that.
I spend a lot of time on Knicks Twitter. I don't spend a lot of time on Bucks Twitter. Do you think there's a single Bucks fan alive that that argues that the Dame Lillard trade was a good idea?
I can't imagine. I
Does
mean,
anyone defend that trade? It's great we don't have Drew Holiday. This is working out well.
2 years from now, he's going to be making $58 million.
Holy
Yeah, there's 2 more years after this season.
I think every 4 years, I think a great thing with the NBA would be the amnesty. Like they had the amnesty many years ago. Every 4 years, you should get one amnesty. And the amnesty, for those that don't remember, was you were allowed to basically release a player. You had to pay them out their contract, but the contract wouldn't count against the cap.
Right.
So like, you have $58 million from Dame Lillard. You could bite the bullet and just pay him the $58 million, but then not have the money cap and get the cap, and you can basically now sign players with that cap money. They need to do something like that just to because all these teams have these ridiculous contracts. I don't really care about helping the Bucks, but it is ridiculous so many players have these absurd contracts that are like Dame getting $58 million at this age is absurd.
I mean, it's also just like with the new CBA, your team's just screwed now. Like that's it. Like
right.
Maybe not as much Dame, but like the Suns with Beal, like they're just screwed.
Right. Like so let's say Towns, God forbid, like suffers a career-ending injury. Well, not career-ending, because he had to retire. Like an injury where he becomes Zion Williams, where he can never get on the court. Then you're like, well, $50 million is just dead cap space, more or less.
So Amari.
Yeah, Amari. Or what Zion Williamson is right now.
Or what Embiid is right now.
Or Embiid is right. He plays sometimes, but
once in a while. So they have Paul George playing backup center for because Drummond got hurt. So they have Paul George playing backup center for Embiid, and Paul George says he's bored playing center. So I'm glad he's not being a team player. Also, I love everything that's going on with Philly right now.
That and the Jimmy Butler stuff are pretty funny.
So Butler. So this is according to a source that he said that he was not. He had frustrations over other contenders being more aggressive, and they got players like Thomas Bryant and Josh Richardson, and he said it left him with the feeling that he had to do the impossible again. What did he do that was impossible? Because he has 0 rings, right?
They got the Heat to the finals twice.
Okay. Well,
Yeah,
I mean, that doesn't seem
good.
impossible to me.
No, but I would say both years he wasn't exactly favored. I don't know. I mean, he's a very good player.
I mean, were you like, oh my God, Jimmy Butler did the impossible?
Yes, yes. That word probably was a bit of an exaggeration, Jay. Guys, just say that crap though. I mean,
I think he really believes it.
I did the impossible. You cured cancer, even better. Got to the finals. Whatever. I get also though you're a very competitive person, hyper competitive, and you're like, I'm doing all I can, and like at least you believe that, and you're like, well, they're not building a team around me that's very good, so I'm mad at the organization.
Yeah. I mean, okay, but I don't know what the hell do you want? Like you taking 50, 60 million. Like it's hard to build a team when you're taking 40% of the cap. Not that I care. Screw the Heat. But these guys take so much money, and then they're like, why didn't you add so many good players? Even though I'm taking most of the cap.
Butler apparently told Pat Riley that he will not sign a new deal in Miami and that he intends to use his $52 million player option in the 25-26 season as a trade maneuver. You can't, if Butler could just say, I'm done with your team this offseason, come the end of the season, I'm done, I'll just go sign as a free agent elsewhere. No, he's still going to try to make Miami trade him.
Okay, well, I don't know. For what?
I think one team should. I just really want one team to say, Pat Riley, just go hey, next season we're not winning it anyway. Hey, Jimmy Butler, you want to sign for $52 million and you want to demand a trade? Well, you're signing that money. You're supposed to play for us. Either play for us or sit at home and waste one of the last years of your career.
Yep. That's exactly what
teams have to start doing that just to push back on the players' insanity.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, in Knicks news also, okay, so anyway, they beat the crap out of the Bucks, and then they lost embarrassingly to the Pistons. There was what there was. I mean, everyone's mad that there was a screen. They called an offensive foul on Karl Anthony Towns for a screen that was kind of a very questionable call to make at the end of the game. And then in the following play, Cade Cunningham pushed off his defender, pushed off I think on Josh Hart, not called. That was totally fine.
Well, you didn't read the NBA rules carefully enough. So it's on page 97 of the NBA rules. It says that moving screens are only called in the final 2 minutes and only against the Knicks. It's in very fine print.
It was such a it wasn't like a big moving screen. It was kind of ridiculous. There's also another moving screen they called on Cat earlier in the game, which Cat was holding the ball. He turns, the defender runs into him, and his moving screen is called on him. I'm like, he's holding the ball. How can a moving screen be called on the guy holding the ball?
I feel like I can also make money if I just bet based on who the refs are in the game, because that was a Scott Foster masterpiece.
That I cannot, and the Knicks should have just beaten Pistons, and it's embarrassing they lost to them. But I was like,
it's not embarrassing. I mean, the Pistons they're not the
team,
Pistons of before.
No, they're not the Pistons of last year, the year before.
They're above
Monty
500.
Williams did a terrible job there because they're not Monty Williams. But who's the coach now? It's Monty Williams was last year, and who they got? They got the guy from the Pistons, not from the Pistons, from the Suns.
Yeah, wasn't that Monty Williams?
Oh, who's the coach now?
It was Monty Williams, and then they fired him, and
They fired him.
and they got a lot better.
Bickerstaff. Yes, from the Cavs. Bickerstaff was from the Cavs. He's doing a great job there. They added some vets. They're a much better team than last year. Blah, blah, blah. Great, and Cade Cunningham's playing better, and Jalen Duren's playing better, and blah, blah, blah. F them, the Knicks should have goddamn beaten them.
They should have. I'm just saying, it's not embarrassing though. I mean, they are
No, not
8-2 in
You're
their
right, not
last
embarrassing.
10. They're like a legit team now. Cade is really good.
Malik Beasley is apparently dynamite from 3 against the Knicks.
Yeah.
Still very frustrating, but it just seemed like you're calling this like a very ticky-tack moving screen on Cat towards the end of the game. And then the following play, I don't need a push-off called by Cade Cunningham. But if you're going to call on one end, then call the ticky-tack crap on the other end, because Cade Cunningham clearly pushed off.
Yeah.
Whatever. They lost the game. Anything else you want to add about this last night's game, which was really annoying? By the way, OG Anunoby, what happened to his offense?
It's been really bad. He's had one good offensive game in the last 5. I don't know. I mean,
Mikal Bridges had a great game last night in terms of offense. I mean, he was bad the game before. OG, remember last year when they were the concern about him signing, or in Toronto he wanted a bigger offensive role, and then people were worried that his offensive role wouldn't be big enough in New York, or else he wouldn't sign. And then the Knicks obviously gave him a ton of money. Can we see this bigger offensive role he wanted?
So, twice during losses, Hart made a reference to leaving agendas and egos at the door, keeping them in check. Do you think he's kind of talking about OG there? Because I can't imagine.
No, it's all about Jericho Sims, who's on the trade block. I don't know. The Knicks were really great with OG last year, and there's been times of the year they've been really great. His defense is usually there every night. Do you think it's an ego issue? I don't know what Josh Hart's referring to. What do you think he's referring to? You think it's OG?
I can't imagine who else.
I don't know.
I mean, Town seems all bought in. I really doubt it's Brunson.
We don't see on the floor any of this, though. We don't see anyone looking like it's their egos getting in the way. There's no one that seems selfish on the floor.
No, I'm just wondering if he's getting a little pouty and not being as aggressive on offense because he's not happy. I don't know.
No, it doesn't seem like he just seems like he's missing shots more than anything.
I mean, I hope it's nothing, and I hope he was just putting out sound bites and whatever.
I mean, Josh Hart still, at least once or twice a game, he passes. He just doesn't take a shot when he's supposed to, and it's very frustrating. Also,
I mean, they seem like a fairly close team. It's just the 3-point defense has been. They just don't seem to. Well,
there was a stat actually. So this was from a couple games ago. So I'm not sure what number they are now. But do you think of the 30 teams in the NBA, where do the Knicks rank in allowing open three-pointers? And
First.
so this is, I guess, three-pointers with no one within 5 feet of them.
First.
Where are the Knicks like? It's like first as in like the least, or 30th as in the worst. Where do you think the Knicks rank?
They are the worst. They do it the most.
So like, you think they're the 30th like best team at allowing? Do you think they allow the most open three-pointers
Yes.
in the league?
Yes.
So as of a couple games ago, the Knicks were 5th in the NBA in allowing the fewest open threes in the NBA.
That doesn't seem right.
Does that not seem crazy?
That doesn't seem right at all.
A lot of statistics at the end of the season, a lot of things will balance out basically. It seems absolutely crazy because you would think basically the Knicks are just doing a terrible job with three-point defense, and a lot of times they are.
I wonder how they're counting that, though, because there's a lot of times where a guy's wide open and somebody will close out, has no chance of affecting the shot or blocking it. And by the time the shot gets off, there's a guy sort of close. But it doesn't, are they counting that?
I didn't see the actual stat. I saw someone commenting on this. I think it was and someone else back. I think it's true. Where do you think the Knicks rank in three-point percentage? Like other teams' three-point. Let me find this.
Other teams' three-point percentage.
Where do in defensive on defense against three-point shooting?
I'm gonna say 23rd.
Okay, so probably would have been helpful if I had this already pulled up.
Probably.
Correct?
Yes. Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with that. Yes.
Okay, opponents. There we go. Okay, so the Knicks currently, I didn't look this up ahead of time, but opponents' three-point shooting percentage. Currently, OKC is number one at 32%, and the Knicks are garbage at 37%. They are giving up a lot of, maybe they're giving up less open threes, but teams just making the threes against them. They're one of the worst. And where do you think the Knicks rank in three-point attempts? And again, like, there are a lot of covered, there are three-pointers that are counted as covered, and the Knicks are giving them up anyway. Where do you think the Knicks are in that?
I'd say somewhere in the middle.
They're 7th.
Yeah.
36.5 three-pointers attempted. So they're actually like one of the better teams in giving up three-pointers attempted. Maybe that also goes along with the fact that they are giving up less open threes than a lot of other teams.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes the stats just don't bear out what you're seeing. It also kind of like one thing that it's like, yeah, OKC shot the lights out and like Isaiah Joe made them look silly, but then the Knicks beat the crap out of the Bucks. So they have a lot of games where they beat the crap out of a team, and that also helps affect like that's like it's almost like you almost kind of want to see these stats in losses versus wins.
Right. Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, there is a stat where if Towns hits two or more threes, the Knicks are like 17-4 or something, and if he hits less, they're like they've hardly won it all. So
by the way, you may ask why Knicks fans are frustrated, and a lot of it goes to the fact that like the Knicks have an amazing record if you have a losing record, and a terrible record against teams that are over 500.
Well, I think it's also that for the first time in a long time, the Knicks actually have championship aspirations, and so when you go in and you saw what happened last January, and you're just, I think people were expecting the Knicks to be more dominant and not like
especially
up and
after
down.
you made 2 all-in moves.
Right.
Before it was like we have a treasure trove, we have so many draft picks. Holy crap, we could trade for anyone in the NBA. Now we're like,
this is it. Yeah.
Could you spare a tall power forward? Could you spare a center, sir?
Yeah.
We don't have much in terms of trade assets anymore.
No.
We have a core 5, and the assets go downhill from there.
Speaking of trade assets, it looks like Sims is getting traded. 2 blowouts, OKC and Milwaukee. Everybody plays. Toppin plays like 6 minutes. Sims does not. And the last game he was in a suit. They said back spasms, but it looks like he's being shopped around. I don't know what you're getting. Sims has a $2 million salary. So
They're trying to do a 1-for-1 Anthony Davis for Jericho Sims. I don't think the money works, so it probably won't work out, but that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah. So I wouldn't expect anything too exciting as far as that goes. That might be their only move for the trade deadline.
Well, it sounds like if they cut his salary earlier, maybe they can bring on TJ Warren sooner. They have very limited ability, or just cut it and see who else is available post trade deadline.
Yeah.
That's really it, basically. The Knicks are just they do not want to go to the second apron. At least this season. Maybe they'll go all in next year for the second apron, but right now they don't feel like they're close enough to make that all in move to go. And it's not even an all in move at this point. All in like they don't want to make that extra move basically because they're not confident enough in this team just yet.
Well, I've said it before. I mean, a month from now they could have Mitch and TJ Warren, and they have a legit 9-10 man rotation, and life is good. So
right, they could look a lot better.
This isn't the final product. This isn't what it's going to look like. Hopefully at the end of the season. So let's just calm down. The Knicks are in third. I don't think they're in danger of falling out of third.
Okay. Let's go some questions. Daniel writes, this is on Facebook. Or maybe this is on Twitter. I think Facebook. Do you people really think this version of the Knicks can contend this year? I never thought that. Bench is terrible, defense is terrible. In my mind, this year's team needs time to gel, and Leon needs to get more pieces on the bench. I don't see how they can do this year. I hope I'm wrong, but the inconsistencies have been too many. Thanks. Great show, as always.
Thank you. I still think they have enough. It just depends who's around. If everybody's healthy come playoffs, that's what it always comes down to. I genuinely think the Knicks have the championship caliber roster if they have Mitch and whatever they add, be it TJ Warren or whatever, and everybody's healthy going in.
For the most part, the teams that are in the finals or even the conference finals are usually pretty healthy. That's part of getting there.
It almost always comes down to that. If you can keep your starting lineup or even 4 out of your top 5 guys, you usually go far in the playoffs, and that's just.
I mean, it's not doesn't make you go far, but it's a precursor. They're almost a requirement to go far in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, after the Cavs and the Celtics, most of the teams in the East are very top heavy. So
yeah, I mean, the Cavs and the Celtics are the only two teams where you're like, these are. I mean, it's unfortunate that it's the Cavs because I just don't like them, but I don't like the Celtics either. But either way, those teams are head and shoulders above everyone else right now. Everyone else is very beatable by the Knicks.
Yeah,
Knicks are probably the third best team right now, and everyone's also like, no team outside of those two can. Even those two, I feel like you lose Donovan Mitchell, Cleveland's not winning it. You lose Tatum or you lose Brown, Boston's probably not winning it either.
Right. Or even just their big men. I mean, they're relying on Porzingis and Horford, and they got lucky last year. And depending on that for a second straight year, I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Either way, so I also feel like the team, I'd love them to win this season. It's probably a 3-year window with this team, maybe 4, with guys still in their prime. Everyone's 28, 29, 30. You have a 3-year window. Get as far as you can this year. Tweak it in the summer. Get as far as you can next year. Tweak it in the summer. In these 3 years, hopefully we'll win a title. That would be goddamn amazing. But that's really what the goal has to be. Just win the title within the next 3 years.
Yeah.
Carlo writes, when Mitch comes back eventually, how much of an impact do you think it will make? Because this team needs help.
I think it'll make a huge impact. I really do.
If he's Mitch, healthy Mitch, basically, he is a defensive force. He is a top 10 defensive player in the NBA. It makes a giant difference. He'll have to gel with this team also. But I feel like you feel like Towns will be able to play next to him.
I feel like Towns will be able to play next to him. I also feel like he could also spell Towns a little bit. So maybe Towns plays 5 less minutes. And OG plays a few less minutes when you're playing because you're playing Towns and Mitch at the same time.
I mean, as much as I love Precious, Mitch is also a huge upgrade over Precious. And Precious, you can still play some to spell OG or Josh Hart, say.
Absolutely.
But it's a huge. The Knicks don't have a rim protector out there. The closest thing they have right now is they don't have a rim protector. Just flat out, they don't have a rim protector.
So even
Having
if
a
he
rim
only
protector would
plays
make a big
24 minutes, you have half the game of elite rim protection when he comes back.
Yeah, that'll be a big difference. And like, you watch the team now, and like, you know, what would be awesome to see some offensive rebounds.
Yeah, yeah.
By the way, they had a stat last night in the game, which I thought was cool. I forget the exact number, but Josh Hart has the most loose balls recovered in the NBA this year.
I mean, he is the definition of a hustle guy.
Yeah, he really is. And by the way, I please stop putting out articles talking about trading Josh Hart, because he'll see like the most tradable of the big five of our five. It is insane for chemistry and just making the team good to get rid of Josh Hart.
Every championship team has a intangibles guy that maybe doesn't show up as much in the box score, but is vital to the team, and he's that guy.
Here's the trade proposed by SportingNews.com.
I'm sure it'll be.
Knicks may cut ties with irreplaceable $80 million guard, obviously it's Josh Hart, in favor of dun-dun-dun-dun, Zion Williamson. Dumbest, just the dumbest. You know what? If the Knicks make that move during this season, we'll end the show early.
Yeah.
We'll just call it. We're like, we're going to do the end till the end of the season. This is too much. We're done. Thank you.
Yeah.
Remember also when everyone wanted us to do, wanted the Knicks to do, have a big three of Zion Williamson, R.J. Barrett, and Cam Reddish. Just send you to the lottery every season.
That's like a 9-win team.
That is a horrible idea.
Yeah.
Next question. Tristan writes, any idea what the Knicks need to do to win a close game? They just lack defense, in my view. Love your work, guys, and you'll be missed next season. So the Knicks last night, one of the problems was they could not shut down Cade Cunningham. Mm-hmm. He just kept scoring at will. Josh Hart also probably closed out on Tim Hardaway and left Malik Beasley open to hit a three. But the biggest problem was not being able to stop Cade Cunningham. Cade is just a very, very good offensive player. Just like you can't stop, a lot of teams can't stop Brunson. It seems like a lot of teams can't stop Cade Cunningham.
Yeah, he's big too. It's not just that he's just fast and athletic. He's like a big dude.
But you know what would be? I kind of have figured out what would be really helpful for stopping guys on defense towards the end of the games.
Having a huge rim protector?
Yeah. Having Mitch back. That would make a big difference.
Agreed.
Yeah. Is there on Twitter, and somehow I got cut off the name of this person, sorry. But is there a third Toppin brother we can sign who would get minutes? IME Radio writes, I know it's too early, but would you have rather the team kept everyone together from last season with the draft picks and just keep trying to improve with rookies and free agents, or do what they did this season? When I see what OKC did, I'm wondering if that was a better approach.
I'm still going to go with do what they did, because I just feel like windows close so quickly. I mean, look at Milwaukee, look at Denver, and you just never know. And you got Brunson in his prime. You just let's go all in, because you just never know.
I mean, also OKC, if you look what they did, they have a very deep team, but a lot of it also is like, would they draft SJ number 9? They got lucky. Turns out to be one of the best players in the NBA.
And Williams.
They drafted Jalen Williams number 11. Turns out to be he's going to be a future All-Star. And then they got lucky. Basically, end up getting the number 2 or number 1 pick in the draft and getting Chet Williams. Chet Holmgren. I mean, yeah, that's great for them, but that formula doesn't necessarily work for most teams.
Yeah, they got very lucky in the draft too. So or just smart, but. Yeah, that's banking on that happening is not rare.
ESPN did it's off-season baseball, and because off-season baseball, there's not much to write about. And ESPN had a little fun article, basically, what would teams look like if Major League Baseball teams were not allowed to make trades. Mm-hmm. So whoever you drafted or signed, you're just stuck with that player. Mm-hmm. How good would each team be? And they had it for the Mets. They had the team basically slightly better, they thought, than the current team and whatever. But what would the Knicks look like if you were not allowed to make trades in the NBA?
Oh,
Once you drafted a player or signed him in free agent, There's no free agency. Players, once you're on a team, that's it. How would the Knicks look?
I mean, their team would be like what? Frank and Obi, IQ.
It'd be so let's see who
Knox.
you'd have. You'd have our point guard would be
Frank, right?
I mean, it would probably be Deuce. Deuce is better than Frank.
Right.
Okay, our shooting guard would be RJ.
Mm-hmm.
Our 3 would be Knox.
Knox or Grimes.
Grimes, sorry. 3 would be Grimes. Our 4 would be we'd Mitch at center. We'd have I guess Obi would be our power forward. So that and I've got so basically look at the current team, and for this fun game, you have a lineup of McBride.
I would go
RJ.
IQ. I would go McBride.
Oh, IQ, yes,
IQ,
you're right.
RJ. I mean,
IQ,
it's not
RJ.
a terrible lineup, but
According to the Raptors, the Raptors are doing it right now. It's not working out that well.
true.
But,
True.
but yeah, IQ, RJ, Obi, Mitch. Then who was the guy I missed? Oh, and Grimes. It'd be a fun young team, not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So to do what OKC did, basically more than anything, you have to be really good at drafting. The Knicks just haven't been really good at drafting.
Correct.
They're good at drafting at the margins, role players. They haven't drafted an SGA level player.
Correct. All right.
Okay. Yeah. Ugg as an influencer writes, how can we stop Tibbs taking a nap in the third quarter? Remove the halftime pizza and beer from the locker room. Yeah, this team just kind of seems to like second halves aren't looking so good.
It's more the fourth quarter. Like,
Well, it was some games it's the third quarter, but yeah.
for a while, the Knicks had a really good point differential for the third quarter and like the league worst fourth quarter.
Rod C64 writes, we had the opportunity to hire Kenny Atkinson before he went to Cleveland. You have to find someone who will develop the young talent. The Knicks hired Tibbs instead of Kenny Atkinson. Atkinson seems like a great coach. Tibbs has done a very good job here. So, like, we really shouldn't be that mad that the Knicks got Tibbs instead of Atkinson. Yeah. And also, is Atkinson really doing, like, he's been there for half a season in Cleveland. Is he really developing the young talent, or do they just have a lot of talent?
Right. Yeah, I mean, they were already like a, 40, 48, 50 win team.
So you know what's really one of the big issues with the bench is the Knicks haven't been able to draft players for the last 2 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Before this year, they did 2 years without drafting a player. If you're not there were good arguments. Basically, they traded draft picks to get Josh Hart. They traded picks to get so they can get Brunson and so forth. But still, not having picks hurts your player development more than anything.
Right. As much as we like Kolek and Hukporty, these guys are like second rounders that most teams have a first rounder that they're trying to develop.
Right, and also like if you want to give the Knicks the Knicks aren't developing players, the guys have been here for half a season. How many second rounders contribute that much to begin? Like those guys, like maybe Kolek will have a good NBA career, but it's very likely it's going to take a while for him to like really develop. No one's developing him in a half a season.
Right. Agreed.
And Buddy writes, also their double teaming and rotations on defense have been so bizarre, leaving the hottest shooter wide open for threes every game.
I mean, they should know to just leave Hardaway open. Guy was bricking the entire game. Like, why are you even covering him?
I mean, in fairness, he was completely open, so I understand Josh Hart's instinct to go get him.
Mm-hmm.
But that left Malik Beasley open. Brian Brennan writes, increasingly disappointing is a little strong. Yeah, they've had some frustrating losses, but they are clearly a good team. It's not like the 21-22 season where they're going to miss the playoffs. That's totally fair.
Yep.
And then Rod C64 writes, this team boils down to coaching. When will they decide to move on from Tibbs instead of trying to bring in different players and keep getting the same results? The bench or the rookies will never develop under his tutelage.
I'm not going to do this every episode.
No, but I would say, I think he's done a good job in developing players. I would say if the Knicks have a first-round exit, There are only so many moves. I could see Leon saying, "Let's try someone else's coach."
Yeah.
I don't necessarily agree with it, but you could see why like that would be the next Bickerstaff did well in Cleveland, but they got rid of the coach. Nick like before I forget who was coaching Toronto before. Was it who's coaching Toronto before they got Nick Nurse?
I got his face right there.
Basically, teams are always like trying to. Sometimes a coach has been there for a few years, and then you just try to like. It's just like making it like a trading Randall for Towns. Like sometimes you just make moves to see like, will that get us to the next level?
Mm-hmm.
So, you think Tibbs is on the hot seat?
No, I think he might be if they have a horrible playoff performance, but I don't think he's on the hot seat.
I think if they don't get to the second round, I think Tibbs might be done.
Yeah,
Outside of major injuries leading to that.
Well, yeah, because then that means they lost to like a absolutely inferior team.
Yeah, I just think that you're always a little bit on the hot seat in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
Buddy writes, Towns clearly and visibly was injured, yet Tibbs played him for 43 minutes. I love what Tibbs has. I love what Tibbs has done for this team, but there's no excuse for when he does shit like that. 100% agree.
Mm-hmm.
And then last question, Big Guy 52 writes, a healthy Mitch will eat up all those undersized bigs and allow the outside defenders to defend. It would make things easier having a rim protector.
Yep, and we have one email. Sam writes, thoughts on these 3 trades? Mitch in a second for Isaiah Stewart.
Isaiah Stewart is a very good player. He is a rim protector. What do you think, Jay?
I think if you're worried about Mitch's health, you should look at Isaiah Stewart's games played.
Oh, is it that bad?
So last year he played 46, the year before 50.
Yeah. I mean, it's also clearly Detroit has said he's not our future at center. Though they give him a decent contract.
I mean, he's young. He played 68, 71 his first 2 years, but the last 2 years he's missed a ton of time.
Okay, let's just say you can hope he's healthy, just like you could hope Mitch is healthy. What do you think of the move?
I'd rather Mitch if they're both healthy.
Yeah, a healthy Mitch is better. And what if Isaiah Stewart is probably healthier than Mitch?
Right now,
I guess I still roll my dice on the higher ceiling.
I think Mitch still played more games over the last 2 years.
Okay. What's the next trade proposal?
Mitch, Deuce, McHale for Zion.
That's a good trade for trying to taste your own vomit in your mouth and then swallow it back.
Yeah, I could not hate that one more.
Yeah, I can't take Zion on this team now.
Well, if you're worried about depth, doing a 3-for-1, now you literally have just 5 guys and like no bench.
If the Pelicans have Zion on the roster next season, they should fire the GM.
And
you got to move him. You have to figure out a way to get out. Like the Zion, it's not going to work out. Move on from him.
And the last one is McHale and Sims for Marcus Smart. To me, Smart is...
It's Smart. It's Smart. What's Smart doing this year? He was out. He was injured most of last year, right?
Yeah. He's on Memphis. He's played 18 games, so he's already missed like a dozen. He's playing like 21 minutes a game.
Memphis is a good team, but I don't know if I really want to add Marcus Smart. Also, just takes a lot of stupid ass shots.
Well, you'd also be trading a guy who never misses a game for another guy who misses a ton of games.
Yeah, this is just a stupid trade. Why would you do that?
Well, I mean, you could say playoff experience and...
why are people so out on Bridges this early?
I don't know. But I mean, Smart played 20 games last season, 61 the year before. He's already 30.
I would take Bridges over Smart any day. Like it seems like an idiotic trade to make.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess Sam's more down on Bridges than we are. I would not do these trades.
If I'm trading Bridges, I want someone else who's at least near all-star level player, or maybe all-star level player. I want someone who's really good.
Yeah.
not a guy who's like not even a starter for Memphis.
Yeah, I feel like talent-wise, all those would be downgrades too. So
Right. I mean, Zion just doesn't play, so it doesn't. But also like if you're trading Bridges, like what are you doing? Like Bridges has a lot of potential. Like just kind of giving up on him just seems. How is that going to take you to the next level?
I don't know.
Like if you're packaging Bridges, somehow you're packaging Bridges and Josh Hart, and you're getting Giannis. Yeah, I get that. But the downgrade in talent doesn't make any sense. I mean, Boston said, "Hey, we need to move on from Smart if we want to win."
Right. And then one.
And then what? Yes.
Thank you, Andrew. Dwayne Casey was the coach we were thinking of.
Oh, yeah. And who had a lot of success there, and they fired him because they were like, he's not getting us over the hump. And that happens in the NBA.
Yeah.
So at some point, you might say, Tibbs is not getting us over the hump. Maybe another guy has some ideas and could take him to the next level. Clearly, Kenny Atkinson is doing something right in Cleveland to maximize that roster. Yeah. So I don't know who the guy has to be or who he would be. I just think Tibbs, if the Knicks have a first round exit, Leon's gonna be like, well, how do we make the team better? We could go to the second apron and we can get a new coach.
Yep. All right, so that's it for today.
Do you want to do a quick prediction for the next week? We always do that.
Yeah, it's going to be an absolute mess on social media because of the teams the Knicks are playing.
Okay, so we got before the next show, we have 4 games. We have Philadelphia, Minnesota, Atlanta, and Brooklyn. Every team is a team for Knicks Twitter to go crazy about and the media go crazy about.
Yeah.
Philadelphia, obviously a huge rivalry from in last year. Minnesota, of course, with Randall and Dante. Atlanta, fuck Atlanta, and Brooklyn because they're Brooklyn. What's the record going to be, Jay?
As long as the thumb's okay, 4-0.
Yeah, I like that. They should beat Philly. They can beat Minnesota. Got to get the revenge again against Trey. And Brooklyn's, come on.
Yep.
We can do this.
Yep. All right, so we'll be talking about our 4-game win streak next episode.
Yes, it will go from should the Knicks fire Tibbs and the minutes please to will the Knicks be a dynasty?
So nyknickspodcast@gmail.com if you want to email us. nyknickspodcast on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Patreon. We have a Discord if you want to chat during the games. The links are in the show notes. And that's it. So thanks for listening, everybody, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.